you have the ability in what we do every day to influence. Mm-hmm. You don't know what the other person's been through, what they're going through, what's in their head. And through hospitality, we have a chance every day to make a difference. I mean, when my head hits the pillow at night, I know I've done everything I can to make a difference. And to me, I can't think of anything greater than having that opportunity. And I fell into this accidentally. It was never on purpose.
This episode is brought to you by Reliance Hospitality Global, where hospitality meets strategy. Whether you're developing your next hotel, need help navigating operations, or you're looking to increase profitability through our expert consulting and business process outsourcing services, Reliance has you covered. From boutique independents to full-service brands, we help owners, investors, and partners unlock value at every stage. Visit RelianceHospitality.com to learn more, and let's build something remarkable together. Awesome. Welcome back to the Check-In with Bryan. I am here today with someone who is not only a seasoned hospitality veteran, but someone who has made a lasting impact on my career, sir. And I am so excited to have you. And I have thought about having this moment since we met at the Marriott in Indianapolis a couple of years ago for a Marriott Ops meeting. So to put that out there, it's been on my mind. So you've been on the short list for a while. So
sounds great. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Bryan.
No, you're very welcome. And so we had some good conversation before we started, but I know that we were just saying that two hospitality people, like two hotel people, we can sit here and talk all day. So we'll try to keep this on the rails as much as possible. Going back a little bit, do you remember where we first met?
I do. It was the Holiday Inn in Gurnee, Illinois. I remember you were incredibly passionate. Oh, you have a picture. Great.
I have and I didn't actually stage this. I just remembered this was sitting on the sideboard. So
that's amazing. Certainly, I remember you well because you were incredibly passionate. You had an energy about you that I really loved. And for me, I get excited when I have people around me that are similar. They have this energy, enthusiasm, passion for hospitality. And that's what's stuck in my mind.
I remember hearing about you before I met you, because I think I may have been there like a week or two before you had come for a visit. And I don't think I've ever actually told you this. And I purposely didn't tell you this before that we started. The first day I met you was the one day I literally called my old boss at the company I had left before going to that hotel and said, hey, like, I don't think this is going to work out the way that I thought it was, because it just wasn't, you get those jobs sometimes that are just not what you think it's going to be. And I thought it was going to be something else. And I was just, there was a lot of like drama and stuff that was going on. And I was like, I just don't know that I'm cut out for this. And I remember calling my boss that morning on the way to work. And I was like, I'm going to see how today goes, but position was still open. Like, please take me back. I spent one day with you and it was funny. I vaguely remember there was something like you were the only person out of everybody. And keep in mind, I'd worked with some people for like a week or two at this point, but you were the first person that actually acknowledged the fact that having the front desk use the arrivals list to search for possible business for the sales department to call was like a good use of time and resources. And I remember I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be fine. Like, I think like, okay, this guy's from the corporate office. Like, he obviously understands like how this is supposed to work. So I'm like, I realized I was like, maybe this is more of a like the people you're working with problem. This isn't necessarily the company. And then I called my boss that night and I was like, yeah, I think I'm just going to stick it out. I met this guy today. He actually seems to like enjoy what he's doing and understands like how things work. So we'll see what happens. So, long story short, funny enough, if that moment had never happened, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. I never shared that with you, but hopefully that means something.
It does, and should probably resonate with most, right? I think a lot of above property, they come in, they meet with the GM, right? And that's it. Mm-hmm. Or they, they close doors. When you get to meet everybody, your impact's pretty significant.
Exactly. And I've done the same thing, like as I moved up and I started, overseeing hotels on the corporate side, I'll go. And I had a GM once tell me like, he was older and, there's like, I feel like in our business, there's those two schools of GMs. There's like the newer ones. And then there's the old school guys that they rule from the P&L and from their desk and they like never do anything else. And like chain of command is very big for them. And I had one of those tell me once, he's like, I don't appreciate that you come in and you see me, but then you spend 2 hours going around the building and speaking to the staff. Like, I can give you all the information you need. And I remember saying, well, I appreciate that that's your opinion, but I learned more in those 2 hours than I learned from 30 hours of us like sitting here going through reports and everything. So I want to say I took it from you, but I think it was just one of those things, seeing people like you and other people I had worked with along the way that just did that, because you realize quickly a lot of the hourly staff, especially like even like not even the management level, like even like going down to the hourlies, half the time they really know what's going on. And if there's like something like a problem you're trying to solve, half the time they actually know what the solution is. Just nobody's asking them.
The answers are in the building. They always are.
They always
That's
are.
the crazy part.
Every
the
time.
best leaders know that. They understand it. They take the time, whether it's weekly lunches, whatever they do with the staff. It does make a difference. It's an amazing point.
So Jack, if you had to describe your career in only 3 words, what would they be?
Passionate, energetic, and blessed.
Blessed.
Yes.
I get the passion and energetic because that you exude. But the blessed, why the blessed?
I can't imagine doing anything else. I love people. And when you love people, whether you're serving them, coaching them, mentoring, leading, it's enjoyable. And for me, if I wasn't a hotelier, I'd be a coach and maybe a teacher. But you have the ability in what we do every day to influence. You don't know what the other person's been through, what they're going through, what's in their head. And through hospitality, we have a chance every day to make a difference. We think we don't, but we do. Somebody comes up to the desk. They've had a horrible flight. They've been delayed. It's late at night. They have an early meeting. They're cranky. At the desk, you can change that moment. It's so easy to do. We forget that. And to me, that's a blessing. I mean, when my head hits the pillow at night, I know I've done everything I can to make a difference. And whether that's through leading, whatever it might be. And to me, I can't think of anything greater than having that opportunity. And I fell into this accidentally. It was never on purpose. This was not what I intended to do, nor if I were to go back in time, would I still do it? Probably. But it's such a blessing because I've traveled, seen so many cities, met so many people, and I can tell you that it's incredible to get to meet people, whether it is guests, owners, investors, team members, everybody.
Going back to what you mentioned, you said that, if you were to go back, you don't know that you would necessarily take the same route. You might take the same route. Take us back. Like, what was your first entrant into hospitality? Like mine was literally, I just wanted a job that I was going to be able to save money to go to college in Chicago. And so I found the highest paying job in the town for an hourly high school student. And I fell into it and then I never left. And that's, I think, consistent across the board with a lot of people, and I'm always intrigued, like, how did you land in hospitality?
I have an incredible story, which really I love to share when I'm talking to people, because I always say, you never know who's in front of you, and that you should always have your best effort. So I was waiting tables in college at Olive Garden. This was back in the day when Olive Garden was it. I mean, it was the fastest growing chain. It was owned by General Mills, the cereal company back then.
I did not know that they were owned by General Mills originally.
You did not? Okay.
No.
General Mills used to own Olive Garden and Red Lobster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And by the way, back then there weren't as many chains.
Right.
And so they really had a good cornerstone on Fridays and Saturday nights. I mean, people would line up, wait 2 hours for a table for a breadstick. But the breadsticks were good, so were the Alfredo.
Well, so my family, we would drive 2 hours to Indianapolis to go have breadsticks and you'd wait for another hour once you got there.
Yeah.
So,
and I loved waiting tables. It was fun. It was easy for me. If you have a natural, I guess, showmanship, for lack of a better word, it's great. And, for me, I was always on stage and cracking jokes and having fun. And I got tips for performance, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it seemed pretty easy and fun. So I loved it. I got invited when I was in college to be a manager. Back then, they had one of the most amazing manager and training programs I've ever seen. I literally, from not knowing, learned how to be a manager. So let's fast forward the story. So I was front of the house manager this couple months later, and it was busy Friday night. We're on a long wait, and I'm going table to table, checking in, helping out, going to the front, making sure our guests are good up there. One of the things I've always believed in is we don't say no. It could be yes, but, or something, but we want to encourage positivity. One of my servers came back and said, "Hey, I've got a problem at table, whatever, 11." And I said, as every good manager, it's not a problem. It's an opportunity. So they're like, well, the opportunity is they want cocktail sauce. They ordered calamari. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, well, we don't have cocktail sauce. So I went out to the table and I introduced myself and I said, hey, listen, terribly sorry. We don't have cocktail sauce here. I know you wanted it with your calamari. I said, but here's what I can do. I have some ketchup in the back. I live a couple miles down the road. I'd be happy to run home. I have horseradish. I'll make it for you. And the guy was like tickled. He's like, that's awesome. Thank you so much. He goes, you really don't need to do that. I appreciate that you went to that length and were willing to do it. And I was. Why not? Pretty good service, I'd say, above average.
I think that's incredible service, honestly.
I went in the back. I asked the fry guy. I don't know what his name was, but I called him Fry Guy. Hey, fire that up. Went out the back door, jumped in my car, drove to the Red Lobster, bought some cocktail sauce, came back. By the way, here's the critical point. Kept it in the styrofoam.
Hey.
For drama.
Yeah.
I brought it out to the guy, put it down, took the styrofoam, uncapped it. The heavens opened up, lights shone down. There were angels singing. I'm kidding. That didn't happen. But I did uncap it. Guy was really touched. I'm not going to drop the name, but at the time, I think he was COO, CEO of a company based in West Palm Beach. By the way, this was in Florida. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Why did you do this? And I'm like, because I could. And he's like, what did you do? And I told him, and he's like, that's one of the most incredible things. Thank you. And I'm like, there's no need to thank me. If I can make it happen, I'm going to make it happen.
Right.
He gave me his card, told me the company he was working for. He goes, what are you doing tomorrow? By the way, I was going to college at the time. I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm off. He's like, I'd like to buy you lunch. Can you come by? So I went to the hotel where the corporate office was. He bought me lunch. Next thing I know, it was like a 2-hour meeting and offered me a job in the hotel.
Wow.
As the outlet manager. Never worked in hotels. Never even crossed my mind. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was real young. I ended up in hotels. It was crazy. It was literally a blessing because, I was young. I had no idea what I was going to do.
Right.
And I just kind of fell in love with it. And here I am today. The key to this, and what I usually like to tell people is, you don't know who's in front.
No.
It could be a future partner. It could be a business deal. It could be, you don't know. Why would you not give your best every time?
No, I think people forget that we're in the business of making people feel good. This is hospitality at the end of the day. You're welcoming people into your home, whether it be a restaurant, a hotel, even if it's a HVAC company, everybody can benefit from the lessons that we teach. But those are the moments though that I miss, and I would be curious if you feel like you've missed this too. I feel like I miss those types of moments as I've moved up in my career, because those are the types of things that I remember used to recharge my battery, was when I was able to do something for somebody that would they would just be so blown away by it. When in reality, I didn't do much, but I put some effort in just to make it happen. And to see them be so like appreciative of it and feel like it changed the entire trajectory of their stay or their week or, you know, whatever they were in town for, was always like heartwarming. And it reminded you why you do what you do. And I feel like we lose that as you go up the chain. It's like you get less in touch with the guest, so you don't really understand, you know, what that is. But then when you do have those, because those moments will happen, they're few and far between, but they do happen when you're at the corporate level. And it's, when it does, you remember for a minute, it's like, you know, this is why I do all of this. Like, this was the original reason.
So today, knowing that, you can influence others, though. It's your ability from above to then pour into others and hopefully lead them in the same way. Or identify those folks that are in your purview of supervision, right? Or leadership.
Right.
How do you know, get them passionate and tap into them? Or what is it that drives them?
I always think it's finding the people that are like in the hotel or on the team that sometimes they're the more quiet ones of the bunch, but they've been consistent with, like, they've worked in a couple hotels, or like they've done certain things, and you can see like they have guest comments and this and that, and like elevating them and like putting a spotlight on them and showing other people what this person's doing, even if it's not the same location, if it's in another location. Because I think there's other people out there that feel the same way, where it's like they almost are, it's kind of like stage fright in a way, in some instances, where the people don't want to do it because they don't want the attention, but at the same time, that's why we're doing it. And those are the hotels that typically are going to have the good guest scores, and the guests, you know, it's a pleasant experience. And I think finding those individuals has been good for me to help illustrate to other people that, no, this is what you can do. And I think the other piece of this is at the corporate level, making sure that the culture that you're telling your on-property teams to model, that you're modeling that at the corporate office level. So like, we consider everybody to be a client or a customer at the end of the day internally. And if it's an owner, if it's another associate, another location, you're helping, like our finance people and business services, they're all customers at the end of the day. Everybody's a customer, and everyone needs to be treated that way. And you need to like emphasize that, because it's going to bleed down into the property, because that person at the hotel level is going to be in a really bad mood if they call business services to find out about a bill getting paid and the person's nasty to them. The likelihood that that person is going to turn around and be nasty to a guest who's paying the bill, that's going to end up paying the invoice, is high, because it's like, well, if they're doing it, then obviously no one's going to hold them to account. I think it's just making sure that you're doing it top down too, but really starting and finding those people also at the bottom that you can bring out of the shadows. And once those two things marry, I think you have a powerful scenario.
In order to be successful, you got to have a great foundation. You got to have good processes in place. And what I mean by that is everything is a relationship, if you will. And the relationship to achieve a good score is rooted in a good foundation where people feel like they really are part of that objective, right? Whether they're empowered emotionally and given the right tools, training, and then, you know, hopefully mentored and coached. Still got to be accountable, right? You got to have results. That's the key. And I think often what happens is we're all busy. That will never change. But to be truly successful, where you can build a good, solid team for long-lasting results, you got to have that type of a foundation. Someone once told me the fish stinks from the head. You got to look at the head, and whether it's, you know, from a property level, regional, et cetera, you got to really analyze everything. And the first thing we have to do is look in the mirror. Say, okay, well, we've been doing it this way. We're always getting the same results. We're always doing what we always did. What do we have to do to shake it up? What can we do differently? Do we need to rethink our process? Because it doesn't matter if you're brand new or old, service is service. And at the end of the day, every brand will tell you the same thing. You hit on those metrics, you have a higher RevPAR. Statistics show.
Statistically, it's correct. There's no,
why would we not? And by the way, at the heart of what we do. It's called hospitality for a reason.
Right.
And you've got to have that. And you got to have passionate, high energy folks who truthfully, the good ones, they want to be a part of this. Doesn't matter where they work in the building. Include me, show me. Let's celebrate together. Give me the tools, give me the support, coach me, make me better. And truthfully, there's a ton of talent out there. They're thirsty and hungry. You just have to be able to do it. And a lot of leaders, unfortunately, whether they fear they don't have the time or the resources, the time you invest today, those extra hours, they pay huge dividends down the road.
Right.
Because when you're investing in your people, whether it's an emotional connection, training tools, support, whatever it is, a check-in, by actually walking your hotels, it makes a big difference.
It's interesting to me, though, to know that so many people got their start in a different way. And a lot of people in our business came from pretty humble beginnings in many cases, that I feel like there is a percentage of the population of the executives that forget what it was like when they were, a front desk agent. It doesn't matter what level you're at, what your like socioeconomic path is. If this is in you, it's in you. And I think that there's a lot of guys that just, and women that just, they do make it. And they're like, I've had my moment. And they forget, like, you need to remember where you came from. Like, have you seen that? Like, I feel like I've seen it firsthand. Have you seen that firsthand with any of your colleagues in the past?
I do think people forget. I really do. Yeah. There are some that do not. I think in general, most hospitality folks are.
Yeah, like
they're engaged.
Yeah,
right.
It's definitely not the majority. It's it's probably.
And there's been an evolution, right? When we think about it, as there is with every discipline in our industry, it evolves, right?
Right.
I think there's been an evolution, but I think the most successful leaders are those that remember that. And that they take that extra bit of time to find out more. I remember being a GM at a hotel where it was in, I forget which red zone status, it doesn't matter. And it was not in a good shape, and obviously struggling, etc. I remember every week having a lunch in the restaurant with the team, and I would take one person from every department, and I'd say, right out of the gate, I did it because I can't. I am not the smartest person in the room by far. And I'd say, if you were me, what would you do here? Or if you had an open checkbook, what do you think we could do?
Right.
Or, and I'm being blunt honest. I'd love to tell you I'm smart, and it was every good idea came out of the mouth of one of those team members.
But so I love the question of like, if you had an open checkbook and you could just write a check. Isn't it funny when you do ask that question? People, I think, like, in owners especially owner operators who aren't using a third party company to manage for them, they don't want to ask the staff questions like that because they're thinking that, oh no, like, they just want to spend money. But I have found like half the time what the staff will tell you ends up being like the cheapest, or they have figured out how to value engineer the situation so that it won't cost a lot of money and you'll still get the like outcome, because they do have the best ideas half the time. And you'll sit there and think, and I actually did say this to some of my colleagues once. I said, it's funny to me. We could have $1 million worth of salaries around a table and go visit a hotel, and someone making $35,000 a year has the answer to the problem. And you know why? Because they're living it. Now, like I mentioned about the made you moment that people think they feel like they've had over the course of time. Like, do you feel like you've had your I've made it moment, or do you feel like you're still working on like that might come in the next chapter or the next few chapters?
No, I've not made it. And I truthfully, looking into the future, the moment I think that I feel like I've made it will be more tied to hopefully the influence I've had to others. Nobody will remember the year I shattered my GOP at this hotel by 58%.
Right.
Or won a GM of the year or this, or they're good moments. Don't get me wrong. And it's part of what we do. And we should target those. You got to have objectives and goals. But for me, the moment I made it is when I get to see somebody who I've been able to mentor or coach go on to do bigger things and then achieve their goals.
Right.
Those are my mini I've made it, because to me, that's what's important to me. I mean, I could run a hotel, I could run a company, I could do this. But to me, if I can influence others to do that in an industry, which, let's be real, we've had a exit of good talent over the last few years, whether through retirement, forced change of industries. And I think that what we can be doing to secure the future of hospitality, hotels, restaurants, whatever, is to continue to find those people and hopefully get them to have that fire that caught you, Bryan, or caught me. And to me, that's my I've made it moments.
So, Jack, what is one thing that people would be genuinely surprised to learn about you?
I'm genuine. When I say something, I mean it. I think often, and, I'm going to, bring my spouse into it. And she always tells me, you forget, people see your title, they don't see you. And so,
Correct.
When you go to a hotel or you're in a meeting, they see your title, but they don't necessarily see you. And when I'm talking to someone, I'm not playing gotcha. That's not why I'm there or why I'm walking. I'm walking because I want it to be a value and assistance, and I want to be genuine. And it doesn't even have to be at a hotel. It could be with an owner. When I'm talking to you, I'm not here to defend, or I'm telling you the honesty. I want you to know, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I see. And I'm being sincere and genuine, because every great relationship, however you deem it, is built on trust and a good foundation. And when I talk to people, I am being genuine. If I come up and say, you're doing an amazing job, you're doing an amazing job. I'm not just saying it. Or if there's a mistake made and I pull you to the side and said, hey, here's what I've noticed. What do you think we could have done differently? I'm not doing it to build a case and come after you. Doing it because I want to see you get better.
Right.
That's the idea. It's, to me, I genuinely care for people. I care for my owners and I care for the brands, and I want to have a win-win-win in every scenario. It's not always doable, but
I think we always want to make it a win on. I think you're much like me. You're like, I like to keep the peace and I want everybody to get what they want. And it's always tough when you realize you have that moment where you're like, everybody's not going to get what they want in this scenario.
But in general, I'm looking for that answer. I'm seeking that solution. And I think everyone should. It's, you're looking at, how do I keep my owners, my investors happy? I want to make them happy. I want them to trust me that when the doom's coming, I'm telling them, here's what we're going to do to fix it, mitigate it, and limit your exposure as much as we can. A trust, a bond. I want the relationship. I want it to be two ways, right? I want my team members to feel the same way, that, hey, if you've got a problem, let me know. Just because this title exists doesn't mean I don't get it. Because maybe the answer is no today, but tomorrow it might be yes, right? Or maybe the thing you're bringing up, I never even thought of. And that goes with guests, et cetera. I feel like leaders who don't even interact with their guests, it's a miss, because sometimes the guests already know what's wrong. And they're like, you never thought of this? I saw it here. And they're like, what a great idea. Right.
I mean, much to our point about how the staff knows what's going on. Like, the guests are literally the ones receiving or not receiving whatever they're paying for. Yeah.
But it's being sincere and genuine, having high level integrity. Those are important to me. It's my number one thing. To me, I want trust. I want genuine, and we do care. We really do.
Well, as my dad always said, nobody has any, like, the only thing that you have at the end of the day is your word. So if you give them your word, that you got to do it. So you're in a transition period in life right now. So you're on the hunt for that next opportunity and see what's next in the story of Jack Paul. What kind of challenge or what kind of team do you feel like you're looking for this next chapter?
I like, and I think it comes across, I like energy, optimism. To me, there's amazing organizations out there without question, and a lot of fantastic people out there. I like energy. I like positive. I like passion. To me, those are really great driving forces behind what we do. We haven't really touched a ton on financials or performance or market share, et cetera. But the fact of the matter is everything we do is teachable and learnable. Everything. I mean, it's evolved drastically, right? Revenue management, digital strategy, et cetera. Everything's evolved. But the one thing we can't teach, and it's either in you or it's not, is the heart for servant leadership or hospitality. And to me, I like to align myself with people like that have these high values and understand that this is literally business that never closes. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And it's going to happen when you least expect it.
Right. It's not. And that, believe it or not, everybody is trying to accomplish the same goal. We're all trying to get to the same place. And together we'll get there. It's when there's, conflict of, well, you really are not trying. We are a group, and I'm looking for that team that's that way. And we're always trying to evolve. The only constant in hospitality, is change. It will change tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow, technology will evolve. Tomorrow, there will be new people, new guests, new clients, a new market. So with all of that occurring, it's the adaptability, the passion to get there, the heart to really drive and have a little fun while doing it. Because what we do is hard. It's not easy.
No.
When you're serving people, it's a difficult thing.
Yeah. It's an emotionally draining business, I think.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to have passion and you got to have a team around you, because there are going to be days you're only at 20% and your team's got to be at that 80 to get you there, or vice versa, right? And to me, that's how successful organizations win. They just win that way. Ballers are going to ball. They find a way.
That's what makes it such a great industry, honestly. Because it's the people because you just see so many people just grinding it every day to get to the next point. And, with the change, everything is changing in this business all the time. And I always laugh because I feel like half the time we'll send out, the brands will send something out, or the company will send something out. And it's like, yeah, we've sent it out to you, but we already know 2 hours ago before we actually sent this to you. We actually know it actually has changed. We just haven't let you know yet. We're going to hold off on letting you know that it's changed for another couple of weeks. But change is the one thing is coming, no matter what. And I feel like it's slowed down a little bit though in the last couple of years. I feel like technology wise, we're things are starting to get to a equilibrium almost, but that just means there's another big wave of change around the corner.
Well, pre-pandemic, everybody was technology and it was going at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Pandemic obviously delayed things, right?
Right.
There were extensions granted by the brands, and rightfully so. They partnered with owners and understood. I think coming out, it is starting to build some momentum. I think without question, technology will continue to evolve our industry. The area we always talk about, right? Everybody's like, well, with cost of goods continuing to skyrocket, right? For different reasons, labor costs, et cetera. How do you continue to deliver for that owner, right? And it's got to be somehow technology and productivity, right? One is people, and one is how do we take our processes and expedite them and make them better? So the evolution of digital key, right?
Right.
Now you don't have to stop at the desk. So technically you should be saving labor dollars. Well, not, you still got to stack your desk, but there
Yeah.
are other evolving technologies that I think there is a future. I believe, revenue management today, that's a great one for me. I mean, the systems the brands have are so intuitive and self-learning. Of course you want to break them and you want to be like, no, this can't work. They're pretty smart. They're unemotional. They're making good decisions.
Right.
Because for them, there is no emotion involved. I am overbooking your hotel by 10, right? Versus the reservation is like, I don't want to have to walk someone. So
100%.
technology is amazing, and it's here, will not change. It will get better, and we as stewards of the brands or the investors, owners, we have to help guide it so that we can get everybody's return. And that's where management companies will excel is how do you capitalize on it? How are you seeking the next thing, as silly as it might be? My favorite thing to talk about is I remember early in my career, somebody built an Excel worksheet for costing out labor in rooms on a per occupied room and an F&B as a percentage of revenues. And you would input your forecast, you'd put the people. I remember when the drop down in Excel first came out, you could change their in time, out time, their lunch break, and it would compute for you. And then you'd have to protect yourselves inevitably.
Yeah. Oh, because somebody's always out there to destroy your worksheet.
Yeah. And I was a dingling. I broke every one of them. And I'm like, I'm having great labor this week, boss. It wasn't so great. Point being is it was an amazing tool. Today, there's so many platforms that do it. So you're not spending all that time doing what you used to do. And there's technology that shows productivity and it's evolving. There are platforms where you can compare how you're doing against how this company has how are you doing? And you're not there. And you're like, okay, we've got an issue, right?
Right.
Not saying every hotel's not different, but it's amazing to think
statistically,
about. What's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now.
Right. Yeah. Like I think people forget, like we do a lot of development work now. And so I feel like we basically are an underwriting house these days. So we're doing a lot of like pulling things apart and doing, seeing, okay, where can this project really go? And it's interesting to look at it when you're looking at things just through the data lens and you don't look at any other emotions about anything. Like the data is never wrong. But to your point, it's always the human emotion that gets into it, that it makes you. So it's like, I feel that I need those extra 8 hours, but it's like, well, statistically, you don't need the other 8 hours. And yeah, every hotel is different, but you should be around the same ballpark. So if you're like way over here, like I feel like the Star Report, through CoStar is the same way. It's like, yes, like it's great to have a RevPAR index of 100, but you maybe 100's not for you. But as long as you're in that, like, you're up 5 to 10% to what the target is, you're good. But the data doesn't lie. And that's the thing, like you have to use the data. And I think that we had a lot of data for a long time and people were putting tools in place like the Excel spreadsheet you were talking about. But now the fact that we're able to I can log into a hotel now and pull up to the last hour what the expenses, the labor, everything is, and essentially print somebody's statement immediately. Like pre-pandemic, I don't even feel like we were actually there. And so a lot has changed in 5 years where people are actually rolling these things out. And I'm seeing more people invest now in rolling those solutions out because they're realizing that it is helpful. It's interesting, like, especially the revenue management systems. Like I remember training originally on Perform for IHG and like the guy could literally like write the equation out on the whiteboard of what it did, which was like, okay, that's not smart. Like, okay, like now they can't really tell you because the reality is that equation has gone from like here to like, being pages long and then it's constantly updating and, it's just gotten smart. And I feel like I started a good time in the business. So like 2003-ish. my sister and I always joke about this because we feel like we came through like school at the same time. That was awesome because like we remember starting in school, there were no computers, but by the time we graduated and like by the time she graduated college, everybody, like there were computers everywhere. Like we've been able to see this progression of everything move. And it's like, for me, it's, new people coming in, they're like, oh, sometimes they're like, oh, this isn't as fancy as what I had at like whatever company they came from. But it's, in my mind, I always laugh to myself a little bit because I'm like, well, they should have seen what we had that we were working with before because it was even worse. Like I remember my first job at Holiday Inn, we used the Encore system, which didn't save guest folios. So if somebody called and wanted a copy of their folio, you literally had to go to an audit pack, pull it, copy it. Here's something new, fax it to somebody. I remember when they installed Opera, the thing that everyone was most amazed about was the fact you could look up past reservations after they've checked out and print their folio. Such a simple thing. And now, like, if you told somebody that you wouldn't be able to do that, they'd be like, what do you mean? Like, how's that possible? I think digital key is the same way, but I think you also have to look at, you can't really reduce staff with some of these things either, because I always joke, like people are like, oh, the front desk is going to get replaced. No, because the front desk is kind of turned into like a technical support area because they need to know how to use all these systems the guests are being asked to use because they have to be able to explain to somebody. Just goes to the point, change. Everything has changed.
Exactly. And it will. It's not going to stop.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, like, I was going to ask you, like, where do you see the industry going in the next 5 years? But I think you pretty much covered it right there. Like,
I don't think you're ever going to be able to replace everyone and all the people. I don't. No. Someday, I've seen robots that can make a bed. What you pay for it, probably a couple $100K.
Yeah.
They'll
be doing that in Vegas.
Reliable?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And those things will come about. They will.
Right.
It's, but I believe, in the next 5 years, it's going to continue to evolve. Technology will. I think there are things, revenue management, strategy, digital, with AI and what the capabilities are. It's going to be mind-blowingly crazy how that's going to react, right? You have automated chats now, right? They're programmed like, what time is your restaurant open? Somebody doesn't need to be there. It tells you. It's that intuitive. Again, is there a little bit of labor savings? I'm sure. It's not quantitative yet, but I think you can put some napkin math to it. And I think it'll continue to grow and evolve without question.
It's slowly going to get there, but I think like the systems are getting smarter. Like the chat bots are definitely getting smarter than they were when they rolled out. And again, because the technology's gotten to the point where it's learning on its own now, as opposed to us like keying in. Like the story I like to tell about the chat bot is my getting directions to the Hilton Garden Inn at Heathrow Airport terminal. I think it's terminal 3 and 4, maybe. And like the chat bot kept telling me over and over again when I was asking like how to get to it from inside the terminal, it kept telling me it was located in terminal 3 and 4 or whatever it was. And I'm thinking to and then when it connected me to a live agent at the hotel, she repeated the same thing, which I knew, knowing how to use the system. All she did was click the like quick response button. So it sent me the same response it had been sending me. So when I got to the hotel, she goes, oh, I chatted with you. I said, just to let you know, to help the next person. In the future, don't just click the button. It makes it very clear to you where the hotel is at. I need to know actually like physically how I get to the hotel. And she just looked at me. She goes, that's a really good idea. I'm like, yeah. Cause I was like, I get it. Terminal 3 and 4, but I don't know how to get there. And my biggest thing was I didn't want to go outside. I was like, how do you get to it from inside? But awesome. So Jack, if somebody wants to connect with you, where can they find you these days?
LinkedIn's probably the best way.
Yeah.
I am on LinkedIn. There's not a lot of Jack Pauls out there. It almost sounds like my name may be made up just to hide my secret identity.
Hey.
However, it's probably the best way to reach out to me. I'd love to connect, love to meet new people, great ideas, a lot of great people in and out of our industry for sure.
100%.
And, truthfully, like I count a lot of people I've worked with over the years, friends and great colleagues. Yeah. So would love to connect with people.
Awesome. Well, guys, be sure to go connect with Jack on LinkedIn. Again, Jack Paul. It's not made up. It's really his name. And he should pop up in the first couple of people once you push that in. And then don't forget to join us this Friday for our Friday episode of So be sure to check us out this Friday for our Checkout Friday episode. It's a tongue twister. We'll drop 9 a.m. Eastern on all the platforms where you get your podcast or on YouTube. And Jack, thank you so much for joining me today. This was fantastic. And hopefully we get to connect in person again sometime soon.
Bryan, it was a genuine pleasure.
Yes.
Great to reconnect with you. Great.
I could sit here all day.
I feel like we could have kept going. This ended. It was the quickest time. I didn't even know what time it was until Tyler was pinging us in the middle.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's time.
You guys need to stop. And we both hit our word quota for the day. So we're good.
Oh, that's funny. And I didn't even, honestly, Tyler, I had that box hidden. I only see that there's an alert. I didn't even notice that you were telling me it's time. So there we go. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jack. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And we'll be back with you on Friday morning.
Thanks, Bryan.
This episode of Check In with Bryan is a production of RH Media Productions. Executive producer, Tyler Alexander. Marketing support provided by Sunny Timbor. This episode was recorded at Love Studios, New York City, New York. Thanks for checking in. Be sure to follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss this Friday's weekly checkout. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Reliance Hospitality Global Incorporated or any of its affiliates, partners, or subsidiaries. All content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be interpreted as professional or legal advice.